We don't have a way to target each patient's underlying sort of cause of their asthma with an appropriate medication for them. So for example, I have a patient who comes to me, they finally found a specialist within severe asthma. They've, tried all kinds of inhalers, all kinds of steroids. They've been in and out of the emergency room with severe asthma exacerbations. It's finally time for us to start a medication like a biologic. But right now we have at least 4, and actually probably more than that, options to give them. And it's very hard to know which one of those options is going to work best for the patient directly in front of me.